Close your eyes for a second. Imagine pulling your dusty Ford F-250 down a red clay road you've known since you could walk. The same road where Gramsci Harper used to wave from the porch with a mason jar of sweet tea. And instead of corn stalks swaying in the breeze, you see two-story colonials with vinyl siding and little American flags on every porch, street signs that say Willowbrook Lane and Sassafras Circle. A resort-style pool sparkling where her prize-winning Brandywine tomatoes used to climb the fence. Kids on scooters laughing over land that still holds the bones of my great-granddaddy who fought at Guadalcanal. And me, Levi Harper, 38, salt in my beard from 15 years on oil rigs from the North Sea to the Gulf of Mexico. Sitting there with the engine ticking itself cool, tasting metal in my mouth, because I just realized someone built an entire zip code on top of my family's heartbeat. That's how it started, 2 weeks ago, the day I came home to Harper Hollow, 42 acres of Georgia dirt Gramsci bought in 1945 with money she earned scrubbing floors for women who called her girl. Even when she was 60, land she paid taxes on every year with widow's benefits after Grandpa died in a mill accident. Land she left me in a will written on the back of a church bulletin because, Levi boy, this dirt's got our name on it. Don't you ever let nobody take it. I still have the envelope, still smell the lavender water she sprayed on everything. Still hear her voice raspy from Chesterfield cigarettes telling me stories about feeding half the county during the Depression with nothing but okra and stubbornness. And now there's a Willowbrook Prestige Association clubhouse sitting right on top of the family cemetery where she wanted her ashes scattered next to Grandpa. A marble sign that says, Private Community. No trespassing, like they didn't just trespass on 80 years of blood, sweat, and prayers. I didn't lose my temper. Not yet. I walked up to the Queen Bee herself, Eleanor Vanderbilt, 55 going on entitled Eternity, blonde highlights brighter than justice, standing in what used to be the South Field directing a landscaping crew like she was conducting the New York Philharmonic, and I handed her my deed, the one recorded in Fulton County in 1945, updated every year with tax stamps I paid from rigs where the wind could peel your face off. Ma'am, I said, polite as Sunday school, I believe there's been a terrible mistake. This here's Harper land, has been since before your granddaddy had indoor plumbing. She looked at me like I was something she scraped off her Range Rover tire, laughed that laugh that costs $5,000 in dental work, and said, Sweetie, this is Willowbrook, a gated community for discerning families. Whatever grift you're running won't work on educated people. Security's on the way. Security, 2 rent-a-cops in a golf cart who showed up smelling like donuts and authority, threatened to arrest me for criminal trespass on my own damn property. I stood there while they ran my plates, watched Eleanor on her phone doing that white woman calling the manager hair flip, and felt something inside me shift from shock to that cold, quiet rage you only get when someone spits on your grandmother's grave and calls it progress. That night, I slept in the bed of my truck under the same stars Gramsci used to name for me, the ones she said watched over Harper dirt, and I made a promise out loud to the dark. They picked the wrong grandson to screw with. Because 15 years on oil rigs doesn't just teach you how to wrench pipe, it teaches you how to read contracts written by Satan's own lawyers, how to spot fraud from 3 time zones away, how to stay calm when the whole world's trying to kill you, and the only thing between you and the bottom of the ocean is your own stubborn head. They thought they were dealing with some hillbilly who'd roll over for a check. They had no idea they just declared war on a man who'd stared down typhoons and won. You ever see a house of cards catch fire? That's what the next 3 months looked like. Only the cards were made of forged deeds, and the fire was me. Eleanor Vanderbilt didn't waste time. Day 3, she had a restraining order calling me a transient individual with documented anger issues attempting to perpetrate a sophisticated land title extortion scheme, which was rich coming from a woman whose husband Preston Vanderbilt sat on the Fulton County Planning Commission and somehow approved a 120-home subdivision on land nobody bothered to check was actually for sale. She started a Willowbrook Safety Alert WhatsApp group, sharing my photo like I was been laden with a beard trim, told everyone to film me if I showed up, call 911, protect the children from the scary man who wanted his grandmother's grave back. Meanwhile, I hired Summit Land Surveying, the best in the state, guys who use satellites that can measure a gnat's ass hair. And when their report came back, every single mailbox, every pool pump, every fake stone facade sat on Harper soil by an average of 47 feet. I didn't celebrate. I started building the trap. First move, giant vinyl banners every 20 yards. Welcome to Harper Family Homestead. Private property since 1945, complete with QR codes linking to the county records. Hung them like Christmas lights on crack. Watch property values drop faster than a drunk on ice. Second move, mailed every homeowner a friendly letter explaining the temporary trespass fee of $75 per day while ownership was resolved. Included my Cash App for easy payment. Got 17 Venmo requests in the first week from people who just wanted to grill in peace. That's when Eleanor went nuclear. Emergency HOA meeting at the clubhouse built on Gramsci's tomato patch. 200 panicked homeowners packed and smelling like fear in Bath and Body Works. Eleanor at the podium promising to crush this con artist who preys on honest Americans. And me in the back row recording every word on 3 different devices because oil rig lawyers taught me redundancy is life. She said, clear as day, we chose this land because the owner was never around. Military types, overseas workers, they're perfect marks. By the time they notice we've already sold phase 2. The room went quieter than a church mouse with asthma. That recording? That was Christmas morning. But the real gift came from Mrs. Dolores McAllister, 79, retired county clerk who played canasta with Gramsci every Thursday for 40 years. Invited me over for coffee that smelled like secrets and Folgers, led me down to her basement where the air tasted like 1987, opened a file cabinet labeled Insurance, Do Not Discard, and pulled out 15 years of photocopies the county swore got destroyed in a mysterious flood. Bank records showing Preston Vanderbilt got $3.2 million in consulting fees from Crestview Homes, the developer who built Willowbrook. Meeting minutes where Eleanor bragged about streamlining title issues, and the Holy Grail, a forged quitclaim deed with my signature that looked like it was done by a drunk toddler. Turns out Eleanor wasn't just the HOA queen. She was Crestview's corporate counsel, the one who cleared the title by forging documents while I was pulling 36-hour shifts in the Persian Gulf. That's when I stopped playing nice. I filed federal RICO charges, requested immediate asset freeze on every defendant, every bank account, every BMW lease, then filed adverse possession on every common area, the pool, the playground, the fake waterfall that cost more than Gramsci made in a lifetime. Eleanor tried to run, got caught at Hartsfield-Jackson with $1.8 million in bearer bonds hidden in tampon boxes because apparently that's how you travel when you're a criminal mastermind. Preston had a cardiac event when the FBI kicked in his door at 5:17 a.m., lived, but not well enough to stop them from finding the offshore accounts in the Caymans labeled College Fund that somehow held $28 million. And the mineral rights? Oh, sweet Jesus, the mineral rights. Gramsci's original deed included everything under the dirt, and a 2024 survey showed my 42 acres sat on enough natural gas to power Atlanta for a decade, worth north of $120 million. Rights Eleanor had already leased to Southern Star Energy for pennies using my forged signature. I called Southern Star, explained their lease was about as legitimate as a $3 bill, offered them a choice: void the fraud and bid fair, or watch their stock tank when the SEC found out they'd been drilling on stolen land. 3 days later, I had competing offers from Exxon, Shell, and Chevron. Final deal: $142 million upfront, 28% royalties, ironclad environmental oversight, and a community trust fund seeded with another $50 million back. Oz Gramsci always said land should feed people, not just greed. But the best part? Every dime of that money became the hammer that nailed Eleanor's coffin shut. Picture the Fulton County Courthouse steps on a Tuesday morning in July, humid enough to make angels sweat. 600 people packed, so tight you could smell justice and hairspray. News helicopters chopping the air like war drums, and Eleanor Vanderbilt walking up in a Navy suit that cost more than most people's cars. Ankles in a monitor because the judge wouldn't trust her with a plastic spoon. Trying to smile for the cameras like she wasn't about to be the poster child for everything wrong. With American greed. Inside, the courtroom smelled like old wood and new fear. Overflow rooms with screens because one room couldn't hold 15 years of rage. Eleanor took the stand first, voice shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. Claimed she was the real victim here, a dedicated community leader targeted by federal overreach, and a disgruntled veteran who refuses to accept progress. That's when Special Agent Ramirez, The woman who'd been playing corrupt energy lawyer for 6 weeks stood up in the gallery and hit play on the wire recordings. Eleanor's voice filled the room, clear as a Sunday sermon. Military families are perfect, always deployed. By the time they get home, we've already cashed the checks. That Harper guy thinks he's tough because he worked on rigs? I've buried bigger men in small claims court. The gasp was collective, biblical, the sound of 600 people realizing they'd been sleeping in stolen beds. Then I took the stand. Didn't raise my voice, didn't need to. Eleanor Vanderbilt called me an outsider, I said, looking right at her while her mascara ran like cheap paint in the rain. But my family's been on this land since before her people had electricity. My Gramsci grew food for this county when banks wouldn't lend to widows. She wrote in her deed that this dirt was for the community, not for criminals and pearls. I turned to the crowd, to the mothers who'd been terrified of me, to the dads who'd paid my trespass fees just to keep the peace. You're not my enemies, you're Gramsci's neighbors. You got lied to same as me. Today we fix it. Then I announced the Gramsci Harper Legacy Trust, $192 million strong. Clear title for every family at zero cost. Full scholarships for every kid in Willowbrook. Community gardens on the exact spot where Eleanor tried to bury my grandmother's memory. Environmental oversight run by the residents themselves. Because real power isn't taken, it's given back. The vote was unanimous. Void every permit. Dissolve the Willowbrook Prestige Association. Refer Eleanor, Preston, and 14 county officials for federal prosecution, and name Mrs. Dolores McAllister honorary chairperson for life, because some heroes wear housecoats and keep receipts. Eleanor tried to scream over the gavel. This isn't over. You'll all regret this. But the marshals were already cuffing her, pearls hitting the marble like hail on a tin roof as they dragged her out to the perp walk. She'd earned one forged document at a time. 8 months later, I'm standing in what used to be the South Field, watching kids chase fireflies where Gramsci's tomatoes once grew, smelling charcoal from cookouts and fresh-turned earth from the community garden, listening to laughter that doesn't cost a dime. Eleanor got 18 years in federal prison, no parole. Preston took a plea for 12 and testified against everyone from the assessor to the judge who played golf with him every Thursday. The FBI expanded the case to 17 states, shut down a network that stole over $400 million from families who just wanted to come home. Every family in Willowbrook got clear title, no fees, no fines. Property values actually went up once the cloud lifted and the trust fund started paving roads and funding schools. The Gramsci Harper Community Festival happens every August now. 5,000 people eating peach cobbler made from her recipe, watching kids get college scholarships named after a woman who never finished 8th grade, but finished raising half the county on grit and okra. I live in the old farmhouse, fixed up with solar panels and a porch swing big enough for every kid who wants to hear stories about the stars Gramsci named. Still drink from the same well that's never run dry. Still plant her tomatoes every spring because some things are sacred. But here's what still wakes me up at 3 a.m. when the cicadas are screaming and the house is quiet enough to hear ghosts. Was justice really done? Yeah. Eleanor rots in a cell where the pearls are plastic and the view is bars. Yeah. Every family got their deed. Yeah. The trust funds changing lives faster than we can count. But Gramsci's still ashes scattered over a pool deck. Those kids will never know what real Georgia clay feels like between their toes the way she meant them to. And somewhere right now another widow's paying taxes on land some developers already measuring for cul-de-sacs. Is 18 years enough for stealing 80 years of someone's legacy? Is any amount of money enough for making a veteran choose between his grandmother's grave and feeding his family? Or is the real justice the fact that every time a new subdivision breaks ground on vacant land, some county clerk somewhere forwards them the Willowbrook documentary with the subject line, **, don't be Eleanor ***. Is it that the Gramsci Harper Trust has a 10-year waiting list for scholarships, and every kid in 3 counties knows her name? Is it that I get to fall asleep every night to the sound of screen doors slamming and moms calling kids home for supper on land that still remembers who it belongs to? Maybe justice isn't a sentence. Maybe it's a garden where tomatoes grow bigger than softballs and kids learn that real wealth isn't measured in square footage. It's measured in how many people you feed with the dirt under your nails. Maybe it's knowing that somewhere right now, a roughneck in the Gulf just got a satellite call from his lawyer saying his family farm's safe, because some stubborn grandson in Georgia refused to let the bullies win. So tell me in the comments, down where the real ones live. When somebody builds their dream on your grave, when do you stop fighting? When they pay? When they bleed? When they lose everything they stole? Or when the thing they tried to bury you with becomes the foundation for something beautiful that outlives them all? And if you've got a deed older than your grandma's Bible, if some suit in a hard hat's circling your land like a vulture, drop your story below. I read every single one. I forward the worst to the Gramsci Harper Legal Fund. We ride at dawn, because Gramsci always said the dirt remembers. And now? Now the dirt's got lawyers. And we never forget.